न गुरोरधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोरधिकं तपः।
श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ध्यायान्मो ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ध्यायामो धवलावकुण्ठनवतीं तेजोमयीं नैष्ठिकीं निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनीं भगवतीं मन्दस्मित श्रीमुखीं वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणीं सुमधुरं संकीर्तनालापिनीं श्यामाङ्गीमदसिक्तसूक्तिम् अमृतानन्दात्मिकामीश्वरीम्। ॐ गुं गुरुभ्यो नमः। अमृतेश्वरी नमः। ॐ गं गणपते नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमः। ॐ My infinite prostrations at the lotus feet of my Sadguru, Sri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, Universal Teacher, Universal Mother. My humble pranams to all of us beloved children watching the program. I will start with an experience which I had many years back. The experience was during the Brahmasthana Pradishta in Hyderabad. I was fortunate to be with Amma inside the temple, and the Pradishta was about to take place. The bells were ringing outside. On the stage we could see our brahmacharis chanting Veda mantra. So when the Pradishta was about to take place, the Amma herself will take the Pradishta and she will install it there. So it was when the Pradishta was just about to take place. At the same time, I could hear the mantra on the stage. It was Taittiriya Upanishad, 2nd chapter, beginning of Satsang chapter. The mantra was Brahma Vida Apnoti Param Tadesha Bhyukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Ved Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman So Oshtute Sarvan Kama Ansaha Brahmana Vipascheti. This was the mantra. It was saying that Brahmavid apnoti param, Brahmavid, the one who knows Brahma, he will gain the supreme. He has gained the supreme. Brahmavid apnoti param tadesha vyukta. In this way, our Vedas say, Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma. The nature of Brahma, that supreme being, is Satyam, pure existence. Jnanam, pure awareness. Satyam Jnanam Anantam, infinite. So when I was small, a long time back in the ashram, I heard our Swamiji, Amritageetananda, he was humming this tune. He was say, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Satyam Brahma Jnanam Brahma, Anantam Brahma, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Our Swamiji was he was reciting this tune. I went back to my childhood days. In the childhood days, in our hometown, we would always sing this bhajan also. So in the Taittiriya Upanishad, this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, we could say even though we cannot say the Brahma, we can never express by our tongue or know with our intellect. Still, he says they are indicating what is Brahma. Satyam means which is always existing. Jnanam means always luminous. Sadavadutaya Namaha, always luminous Chaitanyam, and Anantam means endless, infinite by nature. So, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman, he who knows that supreme in his heart. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam, it is hidden in the heart. Saha ashtute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipashyateti. He who knows that Supreme Being within him, all his desires, we have so many desires, but knowing this one Brahma, all is equal to the satisfying all our desires. Brahmana vipashyati. Again he says vipashyat means again it is Chaitanyam. So again, as I explained in the previous episode, he explained the brahmacharya. It begins brahmacharya, the grahastha, vanaprastha, and then we have sannyasa with the Brahma, and again we have the what do you call it? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The Brahma is in both it begins with Brahma. So we can continue that discussion, both the Varna, Ashrama, Dharma, the four stages of the human life, and the four duties of the human life. We can explain Brahma more, and all the other the four castes and the stages of human life. I would request Dr. Sriram Devanath, our principal of Bangalore college, to please enlighten us with his talk. Om Amritageetananda Namaha.
Om Amritageetananda Namaha. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Amma. Today, I seek to offer a few words on the topic, a very complex topic and very important topic at the same time, Varnashrama Dharma, which is originated from sage Veda Vyasa. So it is only fitting that I should start with one of the Dhyana shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, which is also authored by Sri Veda Vyasa Maharshi, which is one of the greatest contributions to mankind. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullarvindayata Patranetra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. The translation is as follows. Salutations unto thee, O Vyasa, of mighty intellect, who has eyes like the petals of a full-blown lotus tree, by whom was lit the lamp of knowledge and wisdom, filled with the oil of the Mahabharata. So we can take in each aspect, one, the author aspect, and two, when we look at the topic Varna, Ashrama, Dharma, and split it into those three, Varna, Ashrama and Dharma. Now those are three words, but the last word applies to each of the first two words, Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma. And together they constitute something in their totality of Varnashrama Dharma. Now, what about the importance given to this? In order to look at the importance given to this, we look at the importance of where it has come from. And it has come from no less a person than sage Veda Vyasa. So it would be good to look at that aspect, the author aspect as well, before we go into the meaning construction of Varnashrama Dharma and the content of Varnashrama Dharma. And also because when we have credibility established in a source, naturally we feel a greater sense of motivation, a greater sense of faith and belief, and we may then take up the humongous task of obtaining a deep understanding of it, for which we may dedicate decades and lifetimes. And that has to come from God's grace. So first, the word Vyasa. It is said the particular Vyasa to whom we ascribe authorship of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, is also known as Sri Krishna Dvaipayana. As the viewers would know, Krishna means the dark one. And so to distinguish between the two Krishnas, Lord Sri Krishna, the avatar of Mahavishnu, whose exploits are amongst the most popular in mankind, the consort of Rukmini, the beloved of Radha, to distinguish that Krishna from this other Krishna, we look at the origin of sage Veda Vyasa, that he was born on an island, Dvipa. So, coming from Dvipa, Dvaipayana, the son of sage Parashara, great grandson of the peerless Maharshi Vasishta. Such a wonderful lineage. Vyasa is one who has classified the Vedas. Now that by itself is a tremendous task. But there are so many other things attributed to him. The Puranas, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bharata or Mahabharata. So many things attributed to him. One single entity. And so we look at it as mighty intellect, Vishala Buddhi. So for us to even comprehend the nature of the contribution, the scale and magnitude of contribution, perhaps even if we spend a lifetime studying this, we may not be able to fully comprehend. That kind of a mighty intellect, Vishala Buddhi. So the first thing is to establish that credibility to the source. Such a mighty intellect, beyond comprehension for us in terms of the scale and magnitude. And so that in itself should say, okay, now if this has come from him, let us take note, let us give our full attention, let us give our full credibility and faith to this. Let us give full importance to this, the Varnashrama Dharma, because it has come from such a mighty intellect. So that is the foundation that one can look at, so that we can go into it with an attitude of firm conviction, firm faith. We can go into it with an attitude of great reverence, because we know about the importance of anything, any utterance from the mouth of such a great sage. Now, it is said he was the 28th of many Vyasas. And the first one was the creator Lord Brahma himself. From that, he is the 28th in that lineage, it is said. There is another interesting thing about this Varnashrama Dharma aspect. First, the word Varna, in a very corrupted, perhaps, translation into English, people say it is caste. But that is not the right translation. There is also another aspect to it, Varnyam versus Varnam. Varnyam, that means that which is already belonging to. So if we look at it that way, then it is not an artificial creation, but if you look at it, that which was already destined, that which was already designed, that which was already ordained by the universal power, the universal energy, Varnyam. So then sage Vyasa's contribution is in terms of bringing it to light. So just like in the Dhyana Shloka, he has lit the lamp of knowledge. So he has brought it to light. Now, if we look at it that way, varnyam, that which was already belonging to something, then our conviction, our faith should go up tremendously, because it is not a creation. It is not a creation just by a puny intellect. First of all, even the ascription of what has been brought to light is from a gigantic, enormous, mighty intellect, mightiest of intellects. And now we are saying it is even more powerful than that. It was already preordained, it was in the universal design. Now it makes sense for us to go to the third one, dharma. What is dharma? It is a code of conduct by which we can live always eternally in alignment with Rita, the cosmic order. So, if the cosmic order is preset and Varnashrama Dharma is part of that order, and then the Dharma is a set of codes which guide us in terms of how to be in alignment with that cosmic order. Now we see the tremendous importance of Varnashrama Dharma. Now what does it contain? What is contained in the Varnashrama Dharma? So first we said Varnyam, that which is belonging to something, Ashrama, a certain stage, phase, etc. Then we can combine the two. Now the most common ascription and classification that we hear about is the 4 ashramas of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. First thing to take note of is, while these are classifications which bring in a mix of Janma, Karma, Guna and social roles which are part of the karma aspect. The words Janma, Karma, Guna have to be looked at in detail, because we are saying those 3 aspects would be very important in doing this classification of what it belongs to. So, Brahmana, what is the Varnyam? Kshatriya, what is the Varnyam? Vaishya, what is the Varnyam? Shudra, what is the Varnyam? That means where does it belong to? In what way does it belong to something? So when we look at these classifications, the other question that comes to mind is, are they rigid? Can there be a movement from one to the other? Third question that comes to mind, are they rigid in terms of time? Are the basis for classification, does it change with time or is it fixed? So now let us look at this one aspect. Suppose we say that it is purely Janma based. Purely Janma, that means you are either born into a Brahmin caste or you are not, and you can never get into it. You will always be in one particular caste ever and ever across many different births. Is it like that? Now across millennia, if you look at all the mixings that have happened, marriages across different communities, can we say that that particular lineage, a particular family which was born into a Brahmin family, designated at some point of time in the distant past, that it has preserved that kind of purity of descent through all those thousands of years? The answer is, if we look at whether such a possibility is there, perhaps the possibility is not even 5% today of that kind of purity being maintained. Now you leave that aside for a minute. Even if you leave that aside, purely from a birth point of view, the Janma point of view, what about the Guna point of view? Now, if we ascribe a certain set of gunas, qualities to the one who is said to be a Brahmin, have they maintained that purity of the gunas throughout the life? And whether every generation, every member of each generation of a family, have they maintained that purity throughout? If they haven't, what is our basis for saying they are Brahmanas? These are important questions to keep thinking about, to reflect upon. Then the third one, the karma part of it. Every member of every generation, have they been pure in terms of the karma? For thousands of years, for millennia, has that happened? What are the odds? Is it even 5%? So now we have to think about this. If that is the case, if there is such a low percentage and probability that that kind of purity has been maintained, then what is the meaning of this Varnashrama Dharma? What is the significance of Varnashrama Dharma? Is it applicable today? To answer this question, we go back to an interesting thing about these 4 yugas that are there: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. So, 2 things interesting. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam by Vyasa himself that neither is the Kali Yuga any inferior, nor is a Kshudra any inferior. Very interesting. It says, neither is a Kali Yuga any inferior compared to the other yugas, nor is a Kshudra inferior in any way compared to the other Varnas. Okay. So now we have to take this particular statement and look at another interesting aspect about these 4 yugas. It is said in Satya Yuga, the very origin, the golden age, that there were no classifications like this. There was one single Varna. One single Varna. You did not have the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Kshudra. In Satya Yuga, only one Varna, and that Varna was called Hamsa Varna. Very interesting, mind you. One single Varna. Now we all know about Satya Yuga. Everybody is living with pure consciousness. Everybody is living in a state of self-realization. Everybody is pure. They are righteous. They have complete adherence to dharma. From birth till death, they are in conformance, in alignment with dharma. Now in such an age, look at it this way: if they have a state of self-realization, then the Hamsa refers to Saha Aham. That means they have that self-realization of that I am, that is the reality within us, the inner core, the true self. There is continuous, non-stop awareness of that inner core, the inner reality. Therefore, that particular Varna, they call it Hamsa Varna. Then another interesting aspect, that only in Treta Yuga that the Vedas were classified into three. And towards the end of that is when Sri Krishna Dvaipayana, our Veda Vyasa Maharishi, classified into the 4. And so now you can see there is a progression. On the one hand, of one single Veda to 3 to 4. On the other hand, one single Varna into 4. Now you take that part. On the one hand, it says there is that kind of a progression. On the other hand, Vyasa Maharishi is saying Kali Yuga is no less, it is not inferior. Kshudras are no less, they are not inferior. Very amazing thing, because then you have to reconcile these two things. So it should be very clear from this that the Varna classification never had any ascription to lesser or greater. Never. There was never any intention, there was never any element of lesser and greater. Only those who sought to exploit this classification for social, political, selfish, personal gains would have created that kind of an ascription, a wrong meaning to this. But there was never any sense of inferior and superior built into the Varna Ashrama Dharma. You see, the minute you say something is creating a disadvantage to one section of the community and an advantage, an unfair advantage to another section of the community, how can it be dharma? It is not dharma. Dharma by its very nature means that which creates harmony with Rita, the cosmic order. So whatever is the code of conduct which is in dharma, always it must promote greater and greater harmony, greater and greater alignment with the universal order, the cosmic order, Rita. Therefore, we can immediately dismiss all objections to Varnashrama Dharma. Having said that, now we go back to the three aspects which I said could be taken into consideration for the classifications of Varnashrama Dharma: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Kshudra. So I said it cannot be solely based on Janma. We have ruled that out, because you see today if we look at a baby who is born, let us say in the middle of some terrible war in the Palestine-Israel regions, a baby who is born in a terrible state of poverty, let us say in some part of Africa. Let us say some child who is born with a silver spoon in their mouth, living in a palatial mansion in some part of the world, in India, it could be in the United States, somewhere else, with complete luxury. A child who is born with a missing limb, let us say one of the arms is not deformed. Let us say a child who is born with certain speech impairments, hearing impairments and so on. A child who is born, let us say, with some deformity in terms of their face or their body. Now, how do you explain all these differences unless we can look at it as consequences of karma from prior births? That's the only way we can explain these kinds of differences. Now, the second thing is, suppose there is someone who has done extremely well in terms of following a disciplined life, a spiritual life. They have done extremely well, but for whatever reasons, they did not attain moksha. They did not attain self-realization. Now, in the next birth, perhaps it is by God's grace that they would. But you see, there has to be an evolution in the right direction, in an advantageous direction, so that they can prepare themselves in a better and better way, apply themselves in a better and better way to be patras, to be receptive of God's grace, so that they can move closer towards moksha. Now, in the next life, supposing by divine design they have to be born into a particular family. Now, there is this choice, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra family, where should they be born? Now, I have told you, because of all the mixings that have happened across the millennia, purity has been declining, whether it is in a Brahmana family or a Kshatriya family or a Vaishya family and so on. Purity has been declining. Now, what is the guarantee that this person who is kind of close towards moksha, but just a little away, little bit short, if they are born into a Brahmana family, now the Brahmana family may be just by Janma, you can classify, let us say, as Brahmana family, but they are not Brahmanas in terms of the qualities that you would ascribe, calmness, genuine, deep interest in learning the Vedas, the dedication towards preserving knowledge of the scriptures, dedication towards Agni Kriyas, dedication towards upholding dharma, towards instructing others on dharma, towards preservation of dharma, towards great humility and self-sacrifice and selflessness in their every thought, word and deed. Suppose these kinds of gunas are not there, and suppose in that Brahmana family where we are saying this person could be born in their next life, suppose the family itself is not having these kinds of gunas, they are not indulging in the Brahmanic karmas, then such an atmosphere is not going to help that soul that is going to be born, even though it's a Brahmin family. But there could be a Vaishya family who is preserving this kind of purity through their karmas, through their gunas. They may have very good bhakti, such great devotion to the Lord that itself, that kind of atmosphere will instantly spark the moksha. It will create the right environment for the soul to evolve towards moksha. So you see, Janma alone is not enough, karma alone is not enough, guna alone is not enough, that combination is needed. So we need not be very partisan and rigid in our understanding of the way this has been classified. Rather, let us take the combination of the three, because all three are important. For a Brahmana to be a real Brahmana, as per sage Vyasa's definitions, they must be Brahmana by guna, they must be Brahmana by karma, they must be Brahmana by janma also. But if I had to look at the priority, the importance, gunas, karmas and the janma would be the least. But it is not unimportant. Janma is very important, that is also important. We cannot say it is unimportant. Now, why is that? Now we can take up some practical examples. Suppose I think of a house, it has various rooms. I want to distinguish between the house and the home. Okay. So we will take each of these two words, the house and the home. When does a house become a home? When there is humaneness, humanity in there. Because otherwise a house can be just a physical structure. But a home comprises hearts. I am talking about that kind of a distinction between the home and the house. Now we say a house has many rooms, and these rooms have specific functions. For example, a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, a hall, a storage room, a puja room. These kinds of rooms are there. Each one has its own function. Now, supposing I say anybody can do anything in any of the rooms, what will happen? Suppose in the same room you are cooking and you are also passing urine, you are also doing bathing. Now, will there be any cleanliness and sanitation possible? It will be very difficult. Now, supposing in the same room you are using for all kinds of cleaning activities, you are using it for entertainment, and you are also using it for puja. While one person is doing puja, somebody else is dancing with loud music. The two are at odds with each other. They cannot really coexist, isn't it? So, we are spoiling everything. Neither can we achieve cleanliness, nor can we achieve wholesome cooking, nor can we achieve peace. So, this analogy of rooms in a house, we have to now extend it to the Varnashrama Dharma. Now, what I mentioned was you can't mix up the functions of these. If you really want to preserve something, the subtle aspects of either a profession or a science, then naturally the one person who has the expertise, the right atmosphere has to be created to support them in preserving that knowledge and in passing it on to the next generation, the next generation and the next generation. Now, for worldly science itself, we take so much effort, universities are created, so much time, attention, money is attributed to preserving the knowledge in these universities, the research knowledge, the skills and competencies of various professions and vocations, whether it is a doctor, an engineer or any other kind of science or profession. We do that. Now, the question will be, there is something vastly greater and superior, and that is the Vedas. And now we see how the preservation of the knowledge and wisdom in the Vedas is of paramount importance. So, you have a community, a section of the community devoted and dedicated to that. Now, to protect them and to create the resources to sustain them, you may need the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. To support them in terms of the food and the other household needs, you may need the Kshudras to support the sanitary needs and so on. You have agricultural needs, you have the grooming needs, you may have so many other kinds of needs which another section of the community, the Kshudras, would support. But you see, we now look at why it is important to have that kind of classification, because mixing will happen. People from one community getting married to another section of the community. Now, I am not talking about whether this is right and wrong and all that, but if society wishes to have a certain goal, which is the preservation of the Vedas for the benefit of the whole humankind, what is needed? A particular kind of purity is needed, because when a priest, a Purohit is chanting one, they must chant with the right incantations, the right pronunciation, the right knowledge, the right devotion, the right faith. All that is needed. They should do it with utmost attention, not thinking about where my next meal is going to come from, not thinking about my other selfish desires. I have to go shopping after this. Oh, these people are not going to pay me much, so maybe I can shorten the rituals today. No, there must be complete dedication and devotion with absolutely no thought about where my food is coming from, where my clothes are going to come from. That purity is also part of the Brahminic qualities. And so it is up to society to provide that. Same way for a Kshatriya, the physical might is one thing, they have to be prepared. But then they also need the right kind of spiritual guidance. They also have to study the Vedas. Vaishyas also have to study the Vedas, because business is to be conducted in adherence with dharma. For the Kshatriyas, the protection and the fight has to be done in adherence with dharma. The Shudras, they have to eke out their living in adherence to dharma. And therefore, this kind of an arrangement that the Vyasa Vishala Buddhi has conceived, we should delve deep into that and try to understand why it is so important, how it preserves the cosmic order, how it preserves the harmony, so that everybody benefits from living in harmony, from living in alignment with Rita. Every single member of the community benefits. And how that harmony can be preserved from one generation to the next to the next. And that is the intent and the content of Varnashrama Dharma. Of course, there is a lot more to be said in terms of going into the details for each of these sections, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. But at least the background can be contemplated upon with faith, with conviction and with reverence, because of where it has come from, Vyasa Vishala Buddhi. With that kind of a faith, if we delve deep into the meaning, the content and the intent, I think we can progress a long way in terms of creating that wonderful harmony in society. More can be said in some follow-up discussions, but for today I feel this is a point where we can pause and collectively reflect upon this basis for Varnashrama Dharma, keeping in mind the guna, the karma and the janma aspects, that it is not for no reason that the great intellect of Maharshi Vedavyasa came up with such a wonderful scheme, or put it into light, I would say, this wonderful scheme. It would be wonderful if all of us could come together, enrich and deepen our understanding of this and put it into practice in our lives. And more can be said about this in subsequent discussions. With this, I offer my humble pranams once again at the lotus feet of our most beloved Amma. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.